I hope you feel better.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
How do you, this is a random, I know, but we got to ask your opinion on this. How do you feel about the name Dijapendence Day?
it's awful.
Oh,
I've
and
been-
you showed me. Okay, to be fair, I came up with it, so I'll take the brush for that.
it's a lack of It's what pro wrestling fans do with like tag team names. They just smash things together, and then
To be fair,
That was good. Glad you finally decided to pull that giant stick out of your butt and have some fun for once in your life. You're uneducated marks. You sit there on your phones tweeting out your opinions like they're worth a damn. Let me explain something to you people. You don't know shit. And I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon.
Welcome today by one half of the current MLW Tag Team Champions, and a man who, since beating Kenta in January, I've believed is a strong contender to take the MLW World title as well. Back exactly 1 year to the date we last spoke to him, Mr. Dijak, same question as always. How's business treating you?
it's going very well. It's going very well. How about you? I like you're very decked out with your old Raw is War.
Yes, the Wrestling in the Middle merch, and we have to plug it like every episode because that's probably our main income right now.
Really, it does
There's-
well.
And he hand drew this actually. This hand drawn design.
Wow. Where can we get this merchandise? Is it a Pro Wrestling Tees thing, or is it on your website?
No, we've talked to Pro Wrestling Tees. Chris Castro has talked to me about moving our store there. Right now, we're just on Redbubble in spring. So, link's always down in the description.
Oh yeah, let's take a look. Let's get there.
All right. A year ago, we asked you, what can companies offer you outside of money to bring you in? You directly said championships. Here you are today holding a little gold as we speak. Does it give a little small sense of validation to how you felt a year ago?
Yeah, it's trending in the right direction. I'm not physically holding it. I wish I was. They had to like, refurbish the belt or something because they want it to look really nice and like shiny and new. So I don't like have it physically, unfortunately, which is kind of a bummer because I wanted to like wear it on like podcasts and on other
Yeah,
shows and
would have
stuff.
been cool to see it.
I feel like it's important. It's important to
yeah.
represent the brand and to show that this is a world champion because I travel the world, right? I wrestle in Scotland,
Right.
India, Mexico, all over the place. So yeah, it's to me that's important, but obviously the belt being nice and not falling apart is important too. So that's what they're in the process of doing right now. But yeah, in
That's fair.
terms of the investment in me as a product from MLW, I feel like that's an incredibly important thing to me and to them as well. Obviously, Bishop Dyer's new there, and he's giving me what we call in the business the rub because he's a much bigger
Mhm.
star than I am. He had much more uh, I don't know success for one in WWE. He was a United States champion and he obviously wrestled on many WrestleManias. He
Fair
retired
resume.
he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So even though most people look at his career and say, "Oh, he had more potential, he could have been a bigger star." He accomplished a lot more than I did in terms of just WWE in a bubble. So in that sense, I'm very much getting the rub from him because he's a much more prevalent name and a bigger star than I am. So I'm very appreciative of that. He's obviously an incredibly talented human being, number one, and professional wrestler, number two. So yeah, I'm super excited about that and the opportunities that we have to defend those championships all over the world.
And seeing his background in jiu-jitsu after he left WWE, we didn't even know that as fans, I don't think. And he went and won some legit medals. Like,
You
okay.
know, I haven't talked to him much about this, but just from hearsay, I know that he had a boxing background outside
Mhm.
his NFL background, and that obviously transitioned while he was in WWE to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, and now he's extreme. I think he's competing in like pretty high level tournaments and stuff in BJJ. So yeah, and he's obviously a big big guy, like much stronger than me, so he's
Damn.
Put him over.
like the kind of person that I don't want to get into any sort of real physical altercation with. That
Noted.
would be massive. There's a lot of those on the MLW roster. So I'm a very friendly person by nature, but even more so friendly in the MLW locker room because pretty much everyone can kick my ass in real life. So yeah. So yeah, I
Yes.
don't I don't try to be too aggravating in that sense.
I liked too that you won a tag team title because we're kind of already on this subject and it poses a great opportunity to discuss how unfairly sometimes I think tag titles are viewed in wrestling. Do you yourself view a tag title run as just a tip of an iceberg moment, or do you classify that as a world title win? I mean, it is the world tag team title of a company.
I think it's all dependent. It's all
Mm,
situational. There can be times where a company is very I don't know if frivolous is the right word, but like very lackadaisical with the tag team titles. It's also it
mhm.
can be lackadaisical with a world title too. It's all very situational, right? Championships mean what you assign them meaning, right? That's what the purpose is. At the end of the day, it's symbolic. It's a representation. If I just grab, people off the street and give them a championship, which for the record, companies have done before. They just
Seen a kid.
what?
What?
What did you say? I didn't hear
Oh,
it.
I seen a kid win it. Braun Strowman, Nicholas, WrestleMania.
I was sitting right next to them when they did that. Yeah, I was
Wow. Holy
I was on
crap.
the floor at that WrestleMania, and I think Braun came and walked right by me to go get
Jeez.
John Cone's son and go
Yeah.
go into the ring and do the whole set because we were right on I was in NXT at the time, so they gave us nice floor seats or whatever. So that, yeah, that was an example of. And again, that served its purpose. It's obviously very memorable, so that's not the example I'm thinking of. But you can do it. Anyone can do it. Any promoter can do anything they want with their championships. So if you want to give it no value and give it no meaning, then that's what will happen. If you want to assign it great value and great meaning, like it's relative. It's everything is a scale, a bell curve. So that's a long answer for for yeah. No, I feel like right now with what we plan on doing, what we've done so far and what we plan on doing with the tag team championships, that we are going to assign it the value of the most prestigious championship in the company, because that's what I want to bring to the table in terms of a representation of me and a representation of Bishop Dyer and a representation of MLW as a whole, right? And I want to do the same
Exactly.
thing. I want to do the same thing with the MLW World Championship. I want to assign it a level of prestige that is, at the caliber that I want to envision it for myself, right? If that makes sense.
Oh, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Also, we never mind your long answers. Out of all the people we've interviewed, you're the first we've asked back because you're probably the most insightful person we've had
Oh,
on. So we always appreciate the long answers.
Damn, throwing shade at other people, man.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely no shade.
I'll do it. I'll bury the shit out of them. I don't care. Can I swear? I don't remember.
You- It's TV14, so there's like a line.
All right. Well, sorry.
Line.
Bleep, mark down
Yeah.
when I just swore. You have some editing to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I do it. It's my job.
Speaking of jobs, I had a question. Are you exclusively signed to MLW, or are you still considered a free agent who can go to other major promotions like, AEW, WWE, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm technically a free agent. I have some verbal and some written agreements with MLW. They're not binding in any capacity. That being said, anyone who's ever met me or known me or spoke to me knows that I'm an extremely loyal person, and I don't
Yeah.
I don't disregard things like that too regularly. So yeah, in that sense, I'm very committed to MLW. I think I've proven over the course. I've already we're less than a year and I've already canceled family vacations and rerouted my whole booking schedule to make their dates work and to make CMLL dates work and things like that. So when someone
Okay.
gives me an opportunity and shows investment in me, I return that tenfold. So yeah, I've never signed like an exclusive contract with them, but quite frankly, they never offered me an exclusive contract because I think that they're trending in a direction right now where they know that, you know, the caliber of wrestler they want is like a very what's the word? We're very cautious towards contracts. We've spent a long time, guys like myself, guys like
Yeah.
Dyer, girls like Shotzi Blackheart. We were under that umbrella of you're not allowed to do anything, you're not allowed to speak to anyone, you're not allowed to do,
Yeah.
and that's a very binding feeling contractually that a lot of us
Yeah.
are trying to avoid. And MLW has been outstanding about meeting us halfway in terms of that regard. And I feel like, at least I can speak to myself personally, I'm going to reciprocate that to them by showing my loyalty to a very high degree.
Damn, that's a really great answer, and I'm glad that you have that loyalty. And it kind of makes my next question a little rough to ask. But on this sort of similar subject, did AEW or ROH ever reach out to you during this MLW run you've been on?
No.
Damn.
Not
Easy answer though, man.
not directly as far as I know. Ring of Honor is owned by AEW, so that would be the same
Right.
thing, right?
And
Yeah,
we know you have history there.
sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even the same company anymore. So it's
Right.
Yeah.
really it's like the people that I knew that ran Ring of Honor have nothing to do with it anymore. So there's no
Damn.
like business history there. I worked for the company Ring of Honor, of course, but yeah, now it's owned by
It's a whole other ballgame.
yeah. I mean, I don't. Pro wrestling's about timing and stuff like that. There's plenty of huge names that offer different levels of value to different companies that are either not in a major TV market or whatever it happens to be. Pro wrestling is not as cut and dry as fans want it to be, right? It's not about how good you are. It's about what you can offer in terms of timing to a specific product, right? There's
Yeah.
plenty of people in every company that are on different levels of their career path and things like that, and what they've accomplished in the business and things like, and it all varies because ultimately the bookers and the promoters of these companies are trying to tell these fluid stories. And the story isn't we have all of the best wrestlers in the world and they're all just consistently facing each other. It's interpersonal dynamics, right? So you can only have so many, this guy's really good versus this guy's really good. Let's see who's better. Beyond that, you need some stuff like, hey, this person invaded this person's house and this person attacked this guy's wife and this person, punted this guy's dog or whatever. Like that's
No.
Oh my God. Okay.
that's a real storyline that happened, right? Baby.
Yeah.
Snitsky punted a baby, not a dog.
Well, Al Snow's dog got kicked, but
Al Snow's dog got eaten. What am I thinking of? The Bad Man Hunted Baxter. What movie is that? Anchorman. So yeah,
yeah.
Damn.
happened in film, but not pro wrestling yet. Great idea for a promoter there if they ever want to do a dog punting.
Yeah.
Hey, he's
Happy
throwing you guys
to run a
ideas.
storyline with my dogs. I got two little mini schnauzers, so if you want to grab my dog and punt it off a bridge, it'd be a good.
That's so messed up, man.
We'd use a doll, but yeah, it'd be
Oh, yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay.
a good
Okay.
storyline. Yeah, but my point is that as a booker and a storyteller, you want to have an interpersonal dynamic that works for your show, and sometimes that goes beyond like we just need all the best performers and the people who have the most experience and the people who are the best at this and that and that it's about the characters, right? So yeah, it's dynamic. It can change over the course of time. So
Oh,
that's
for sure.
that's the way that pro wrestling is. So you can't look too deep into it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a point to be made. So I know you put out a tweet about the skyscraper's name, and I know you mentioned Undertaker in it. So this kind of begs to a question we've never asked you, which is, Which wrestlers inspired you? Which wrestlers do you look up to the most when you started in the business?
It's a great question. Undertaker for sure. Randy Orton for sure. Which I've been very fortunate to be able to, um, well, I trained with the Undertaker. I didn't train with Randy, but I was friends with Randy, and I used to go to him for feedback a lot. Um, so I've been very fortunate in that regard that I've get to pick the brains of people that I respect a lot. Um, uh, JBL, John Bradshaw, late.
Hey,
This is his autograph right there.
yeah,
Oh, that's his honor. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Another guy that I was fortunate to meet and be around in the MLW locker room, just in Atlanta one time. Who else? Um, I mean, like, just from like a selling standpoint, Triple H and Shawn Michaels were big on my list. But then there's other guys that over the course of my career I've taken a lot from in terms of just like aggression and approach. And the thing about pro wrestling and the thing about me specifically in my style is that I love to um, take a lot. Like I'm almost in my mind, I'm almost like a Frankenstein of a bunch of different stuff. Um, because like in terms of like moves and stuff, it's very rare that I like take someone else's move. I did use before I met him actually, I did use Bray Wyatt's move. It's like I still use it. I call it time to fly. He'd never had a name for it, but it's like a suplex where I don't fall down. You just chuck the guy across the ring. I saw
I
him do
remember
that
that.
in like 2013 or something. I thought, wow, that's a tremendous move. And then I met him and I got to work with him and I asked him like, is it okay if I use this move on the same show as you? And he was like, I haven't used that move in 5 years. And I was like, well, whatever. Um,
Awesome.
I also I don't use it much anymore, but I took a move from Booker T that I really liked. Mostly because I used it in the video game and in No Mercy 64 when I used to create my character. So I thought that was cool. But other than
Let's
that,
go.
what I mean is I take little like subtle nuances from people, whether it's like the footwork or a way that they sell something or a way that they apply their face or make a look or something like that. So in that aspect, I take from all sorts of people, not just people like my size, but like people like Davey Richards, for example, or Eddie Edwards or
Let's go.
yeah. So yeah, it's really a mixed bag. It's kind of all over the place. When I was a kid, like my favorite wrestler was Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I take a lot. I put a lot of value into his words that he says, especially about like trash talking and things like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a Frankenstein, but those were sort of the people that I had a closer eye on when I study film and things like that.
Makes sense. All the little pieces of Dijak.
Yeah.
I like the Frankenstein reference.
I left out Mike Awesome. He's a big one.
Woo!
Just in
Love
terms,
that guy.
yeah, just in terms of uh, stylistic things. Like how can a bigger guy, apply himself in terms of physicality, things like that.
Ding dong. Hello.
I think one of the most insightful lessons that's been preached on our program is something that actually came out of our interview with you when you discussed your mindset for controlling the controllable. And as you've continued this last year, I felt like that mindset obviously hasn't changed, but I'd like to ask directly, has it been any harder to keep that mindset on the independents, or is it even easier?
Easier for sure. Yeah. The more I've become much more accustomed to not worrying about things that are out of my control, which was difficult. There's my dog that I want to punt off the bridge.
So much stuff.
The stuffed version, the stuffed version. Um, but but yeah, no, in terms of controlling what I can control, yeah, the good news is that in this run that I'm currently in is that I do have a lot more control over a lot of the things that I do. Court Bauer from MLW, for example, has been excellent about this. Excellent. He's a promoter that has turned into a friend that I can now contact with ideas. And the great part is he likes my ideas and he listens to my ideas, right?
Wow.
Right, a novel concept.
Exactly. That's where I was going with that.
So here's the interesting part about pro wrestling, right? And this isn't me like taking shots at any other company or anything like that. Because the reality of a company is that there's a lot of like moving dynamics and moving parts, and obviously you need more discretion as you traverse sort of the talent aspect of it. So I understand the concept of we can't listen to everyone and we can't give everyone everything that they ask for. I get that, right? The good part about my situation in MLW and really any pro wrestler in any situation is that we are different than just actors, right? And I learned a lot of this from my, I don't know if I mentioned this last time we spoke or not, but I talk very highly of my acting coach, Howard Fine, who I've taken a lot of acting classes with, because
Oh.
there's so many parallels between acting and professional
Oh yeah.
wrestling, in-ring professional wrestling, not so much promos, but in-ring professional wrestling as professional wrestlers and as entities. But one of the main differences between acting and professional wrestling is that an actor, more often than not, there's exceptions, but more often than not, an actor's job is to get the content from the writer who created the character and make that character themselves, make it come to life, right? Invest in it. Say, what is my background? Where did I grow up? What influenced me? Just so I can project and portray accurately the vision of the writer. The reality about a professional wrestler is that we are the writers of our character, right? I created uh, Donovan Dijak. I created Dominic Dijakovic for the most part, right? Triple H came up with the name Dominic Dijakovic, and he came up with the concept of it. But I populated it with here's who my family is and here's what my background. I was never told any of that stuff. I created that concept in my mentality. The Dijak character in NXT and the Donovan Dijak character even more so. That becomes my brainchild. So I'm the writer. And then where the wires get crossed there is that if I'm the writer and I understand the backstory of the character, then it would come to reason that I should be the one who's sort of leading the charge in terms of how I would react and what I would say and things like that. And in pro wrestling, unfortunately, that's not always the case. The good part about and I understand why, right? It's a moving target and there's all sorts of volatile pieces and things like that. So you got to make things work, and you got to sometimes, pound a square peg into a round hole, and that's fine. The great part about MLW is that there's a ton of trust put into me. So it's not going to turn into this thing where I'm just like, well, I wouldn't lose, and I'd beat up everybody, and I'm the greatest of all time, and why would I sell that? And which is what happens a lot of time when you give someone that sort of like creative control type thing, is they go, well, I'm Superman, and I'm the greatest thing ever, right? I want to tell amazing stories, and a lot of the time, an amazing story comes from a place of how do I make the person I'm with look amazing? How do I make uh, what can I do that makes me look silly as a bad guy so that when I get beat up, people enjoy it, right? Things like that. So that's how my mind works. But the reality is that there's all sorts of ways to, for lack of a better term, to skin a cat, right? So so for me, I'm always thinking about I know who I am as a character. What would I say? What would I do? What would I and my character is very imperfect, right? He's a person who thinks he's better than he is. He's a person who is pompous in a lot of regards, right? That's me as the writer writing that version of my character. As the actor, as the performer, you don't look at it that way. You look at it as here's who I am, and you justify those things. You nobody looks at themselves and says, I'm pompous, I'm a jerk, right? You're in your own mind, you're the good guy of every story, right? Even when you cut someone off and honk at someone on the highway, no one's going, man, I'm a real piece of shit as they're laying on the horn. They're going, no, This guy. Sorry, I have
They should.
14. My bad. You got a lot of editing to do. But
It's fine.
it's a long-winded answer for yeah. No, I'm in a very good spot, and I'm able to collaborate on a lot of this stuff, and it's a good vehicle for really good storytelling. So I'm enjoying that.
Oh, yeah.
It's great to hear that you have so much freedom. A lot of people don't have that freedom, or they don't have that kind of relationship with the people that they work with.
A big part of it is trust too,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Because as a promoter, you got to think you're controlling all of these pieces, and they're all interacting with each other, right? So if someone doesn't have your best vision in their mind, I'm putting myself in the promoter's shoes, in the booker's shoes. If they're just looking out for themselves, then I can't trust you, right? But if it's proven over the course of time, like, hey, this guy has ideas, and his ideas help tell my narrative and my story, that builds a level of trust, and now I want to give them more opportunity. So that's kind of how the relationship works.
yeah.
It can't always flourish in that direction, because sometimes we just, as a booker, you just don't have the opportunity to create that level of relationship, and it's dependent on where the person is on the card and what the stories they're trying to tell and things, that etc.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, some people don't have such good experiences. For example, recently, Elena Black, formerly known as Cora Jade, said that if WWE ever called her and asked her to come back, there was no way she would say yes right now. And I kind of wanted to know if you shared that same feeling, or do you leave that door open for any opportunity?
Well, I was on record a year ago saying something very similar. So I assume it wasn't you who asked me that, but a number of people did ask me that, and I said that probably not at that point, just because, and I understand why. I understand where she's coming from, because you gotta think about it from this standpoint, right? We were she within, I get, when was she released? I don't remember, maybe a month and a half ago or something like that, or maybe 2 months ago.
Somewhere in there.
So very recently, along the course of time, she was employed by that company, by WWE at the NXT level. So the reality of our situation and our mindset was, I was there very, very recently, and they had me, and the choice was to either do nothing or do a very little, or the ultimate choice was, we have nothing for you and you're no longer with this company, right? That mindset isn't so easily just like changed, like, hey, we're back, by the way. Oh, we do suddenly have something, because you got to remember, this is a business that has contracts. So it's not just that company, but lots of companies have contracts where they can just end whenever they want, right? So they can say, and we've seen this in history, where they bring someone back on a 3-year deal or whatever, and then after a year, it's like, never mind, we couldn't figure out anything for you, and that's fine, right? That's the contract that we sign, and that's what we sign up for, and that's part of the business, and you're reimbursed for that situation. So I'm not dumping all over them for it. It's something that people sign up for and agree for. But given the circumstance, it's not a situation that people are so ready to jump right back into and say,
Right.
yes, I'd love another opportunity. So the reality of, because you asked about my situation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
My situation would require, this happened with MLW. It would happen with any other company that reaches out to me. Most larger companies that I work for, there's some semblance of this conversation, which is, what is the plan? What is the creative plan for me? And this is, quite frankly, a conversation that any wrestler that's signing with any company should have, right? And if you're at the point of your career where you feel like you're not like important enough to have that conversation, you still are, right? Because the worst case scenario is, you say, what is the plan? What do you have in store for me? And they say something like, nothing, not really anything. We're just gonna see how it works out for you. And if that's the case, you need to make a decision, right?
Yeah.
If you're brand new to the business and you're 25 years old and you're just excited to be there and prove yourself, that might be a acceptable answer. And you might say, okay, I'll come prove myself, and I'll come work hard and show everyone that I'm great, and the cream will rise to the top. For me, I'm 38 years old, so
Right.
I don't have time to, sit around and prove myself and show how effective of a tool I can be. So yeah, for me, for any company that I plan on working with, there has to be a conversation about what is the plan in store, how long does it last, what is the vision, things like that. And if the answer is we don't really have one, we just kind of like where your head's at, and we want to see if we can figure out something for you, maybe let's talk.
Not good enough.
Yeah, maybe
Not
let's talk
good
in
enough.
6 months when I'm not going to. No, I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I'm 30. I'm 38 years old. Like I mentioned, I have a family. These are my
Love those pictures.
Thank you very much. I love them too. They're all from the day that my kids were born.
Wow.
I only have 2 kids. It looks like I have 4, but
Right.
that's my daughter. That's my daughter. That's my son. That's my son. They're just 2 different pictures from the same day on the day that they were born. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it's like if a company came to me and said, "Hey, we'll give you $97 million to sit in catering," I'd probably say yes. Because what am I gonna do? Turn down $97 million to support my children and my family just because I have this vision of myself? No, if the money is life-changing money, like there is a number that satiates that. That being said, none of that is happening. That's a made up hypothetical. No one's paying you that amount of money to do nothing. So
Big number.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, and I understand for her, like there's a semblance of where can we build this to so I don't find myself in the same situation, right? We don't want history to repeat as much as they don't want history to repeat, right? I don't want to set both of us up for failure. So yeah, that's the thought process. I assume for her, but it's certainly for me.
It's one of those things where it felt kind of like a sensitive subject to ask about, because we never want to be the program that eggs wrestlers to come on and try to slander WWE after they left. But likewise, we do care to know like how you feel about everything that's gone on behind the scenes after you've left. I mean, it kind of seemed like a downhill slope a little.
Yeah. I don't think anyone is interested in like slandering WWE or any company. I think people are interested in telling the truth. And the reality about the truth of anyone in any situation, you guys at the job you work at, or me at a job that I had before, or me with my family, or me with my wife, or my life, or anything in general, any human being in any situation, the reality is that there's positives and that there's negatives. And we talk about the positives and the negatives, and then everyone ignores this part and goes, look how angry, like how bitter and disgusted they are. We're all frustrated with something, right? I'm not 100% happy with my wife all the time. I'm not 100% happy with my children. I spent all morning, I just talked about how much I love my children. I just spent all morning losing my mind at my children because they won't brush their teeth. I'm like, can you please brush your teeth? Like, an hour ago, I was thrilled with my children. That's called being a parent. That's part of life, right?
Yeah.
Any person who posts on Instagram and says, I have the perfect life and everything's perfect, behind the scenes, they're losing their mind just like the rest of us, because life is checks and balances, is volatile. So yes, if people are truly being honest, there were good parts of any job and there were bad parts of any job. And the reality of a situation like this is we have to, be cautious, because you can take a sentence of what I said and lose the entire context of it, and I just look like a complete, disgruntled, angry person. The reality of most people's experience in WWE or any company is that there's lots of positives and also some negatives, and that's just life, right? That's every situation. Even the people who are the most happy in WWE, trust me, I was around them. They're not happy 100% of the time. There's difficult parts of any job, and that's just part of the business.
I tweeted this out this past week as well. I said, anybody ever considered what?
I saw it. I retweeted it. It was a good tweet.
Everybody had considered the idea.
What was that GIF from? I'd never seen that one before. Did you make that yourself?
No, I just pulled it up off of like the list. It had MLW at the bottom. I was like, cool, more current one.
Yeah, because it looked like a recent clip, and I was like, where did you get that? Usually, it's like one of the 4 from WWE that I see all the time. But But that was a new one, so I appreciated that.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of stray away from that. I've watched New Japan for about 20 years myself. I know a lot of guys that get over there, and I said, Dijak's one of those guys if he really wanted to. And then you said working on it, so I was like, now's the time to elaborate on that and
I
how
got a
close
question.
that is.
I got a question for you. I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
no,
I have friends who work for New Japan.
for sure.
Shane Haste for one. Um,
Yes.
when you say you've been a New Japan fan for 20 years, are you talking like you watch every single week or like occasionally you throw on a pay-per-view?
Yeah, occasionally. There was only one point in like 17, 18 where I had to keep up weekly. In
That's
some sense, and this is ironic, since I started doing this, my free time to actually watch products has gone down significantly. It's very hard for me to keep up sometimes.
I,
But
I watch more wrestling than anybody in the world. Um, the wrestling that I watch is there's only so much time in the day. I spend so much time watching like students wrestling and that like matches that people send me to review and my own matches and stuff like that. That I have very little time to watch any other wrestling, and I'm still watching like a boatload of wrestling. So
yeah,
it's very it's actually very good for my like mental health that I don't have time to like turn on like SmackDown, for example, because that obviously has a very a difficult connotation, even though it's all my friends and I want my friends to have success and things like that. But there's always that the what ifs in your brain that play tricks on you and stuff like that. So yeah, and the reason I asked you that is because I know people who watch New Japan and keep up with New Japan, and it's it's very interesting to hear the assessments of things, and I like to speak with people who keep up with the product on a a weekly basis to get their thought process and feedback on it and stuff, because it's obviously accessibility is part of it and time is part of it, and then there's the language barrier and all that stuff too. So I'm always interested to hear about that. But no, I loved you. I interrupted you before you even got to ask your
you're
questions.
good.
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to have an elaboration on that and how close you were to making that a reality because it is a cool prospect to think about.
Yeah, no, the reality of my situation is kind of what everybody already knows, and that's that, the president of New Japan was at MLW. That's very public. We, brought them out and gave them plaques and awards and stuff like that. Tiger was there as well. Tiger and I have I wouldn't call it a relationship. Like, he and I have met a number of times. He refereed one of my matches. I wrestled Michael Elgin for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship at Field of Honor 2016. Let's call it.
Wow.
That's a
That's sick.
complete guess, but it sounds right. So yeah, so he and I have met before, and it was nice to see him again and catch up with him and things like that. But yeah, I've spoken with Cord about it. I've spoken with a number of people behind the scene. Again, everything is timing. It's not just boom, that's the guy, bring him out. Like, it's not that simple, right? We got to figure out storylines. We got to figure out timing. We got to figure out logistics, flights, time, things like that. So it's not as simple as there he is. It's that's why some of this stuff takes time and patience and things like that. But yeah, it's very high on my list, and on Bishop Dyer's list as well, and on Court
Mhm.
Power's list. Right, we're all very much
Ooh.
wanting that relationship to flourish, and I want to be a ambassador, so to speak,
There you
for
go.
a relationship. So it's currently yeah, we're working on it. Like I said,
Awesome.
that was my quote tweet. We're working on it.
Yeah, that's
Let's
awesome.
go. In progress.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before you go, I have to ask, and I feel a little weird now because I was like, I know you've tweeted about this faction before, just kind of like, oh, like their style, and then I'm talking about Dark State from
Oh,
NXT.
you said the word faction and my ears turned red. I'm like, here comes the retribution questions.
Yes, I'm so sorry, man.
No, that's fine.
It's
No,
I was
nobody asks me about Dark State much. I saw a tweet last night. Somebody tagged me in something because again, I don't watch it, but Cardona, I guess, got attacked by them a couple because there's
Yeah.
obviously a crossover there. So Cardano got attacked by them, and then he put out a tweet last night like, "I'm gonna come with reinforcements" or something like that.
And
A bunch of people tagged me. They're like, "You should bring
of
in
course they
Donovan
did.
Dijak to battle,
Dark
Retribution 2 or
Retribution
whatever."
too.
It just
Yeah.
kind of.
So
I was just wanting to get your opinion on it because,
on Dark State,
yeah, because they seemed like
I
similar.
know all the dudes in it, and they're all lovely people, and they were hard workers and good people to train with, and they were dedicated listeners and things like that. Because the reality is that most of them are brand new to the business. There's four of them, and I think three of them are like brand new. And
Yeah.
Lucky Ali has a little bit of experience, but even him
Yes.
on my radar, he was someone who I trained with at Natty's. I think he was there training before
Wow.
he
Okay.
came to WWE. I was training with him for a little bit, so yeah, but he's obviously got a lot of experience. I think he was with Deadlock for a little bit.
Yes, he was.
So yeah, so he's obviously an accomplished, talented worker already. Other than that, I don't know much because again, I don't watch the
Watch.
shows, so all I see is like the gifs and the video recaps and stuff, and it looks like the lights go dark and they come in and beat up everybody and leave. So
No, that's it.
I,
That's pretty much it.
I like it in the sense that it seems like a more it kind of seems like what my vision for Retribution was, which was, the people who were in Retribution just without the full-time masks and the complete like face paint and chain. I wanted it to be, I didn't go to Vince and pitch like uh
Yeah.
a lot of the visuals that you saw. What I pitched and my concept that I pitched to him wasn't like, let me completely change your idea. It was let's do what you're already doing, but add an element of the human beings doing it and the why behind why we're doing it. So in that sense, it's pretty much what you're seeing a lot of, from what I can tell, of what Darkseid is doing. So I like it in that sense, in that it seems like more of what I wanted out of Retribution. So I'm happy for them in that sense.
Um,
But yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing in terms of storyline beyond just showing up and beating up people and leaving. Obviously,
I certainly don't.
that's a that's a starting point. It's a good starting point. Like
Yeah.
that was the starting point for the Shield, for example. They showed up,
Yes.
beat up Ryback, and then left, and then showed up, and it's like, where do you go from there? Well, where you go from there is you have to start establishing the who and the why. And the
Mhm.
Shield obviously did a outstanding job at that. They developed those characters tremendously.
Yeah.
On the other
Yeah.
side of that, it can lead in a very not so positive direction where you don't establish the who and you don't establish the why, and then it's like, well, why is so and so on the show? And we don't know, and then it can kind of fall off a cliff. So yeah, I'm curious to see where it's going, and I hope they have a lot of success.
I'm curious too because, as you kind of alluded to, it doesn't seem like there is direction. But I guess with the Cardona thing, maybe
Can't be
We'll
as bad as
see.
the core.
It's not as bad as the core. It is not near. I
That's
don't
what I
think it's
think
as bad
about
as
when I
the
hear
core.
that. It was the first
I
thing
wasn't
about
I wasn't watching during the core, but I heard I think it was Wade Barrett's interview where he talked about the production meeting where Vince just drew the thing on the napkin or whatever, and I was like, yeah, that sounds
No.
kind of like Retribution.
No.
Let's go.
All right, a little show and tell time before I go anywhere. We got
Oh.
this last time you came to Texas. This is signed to Wrestling in the Middle from Dijak. It's also the same night I got to meet Paul London for the first time, and that was a huge moment for me as a fan.
Paul's great. I
I'm-
got to do a whole tour of Mexico with him. He's an awesome person to be around.
And he was a delight to meet. I'm excited. I already have a ticket in September for MLW coming back down to Texas, and I'm really hoping we can run into you there again.
I will definitely be there. Well, I won't say definitely. My plan is to be there barring an unforeseen circumstance.
Mhm.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What would you say you're most looking forward to for the rest of this year? 2025, what's the last thing you just got to get done before 2026 comes?
Buckle up, Teddy.
That's a great question. I certainly have goals and things that I want to get done. I try not to put a timetable on things,
Okay.
again, because a timetable is out of my control. I can say I'd love to
Right.
be MLW champion. I'd love to go work for New Japan and things like that. And my goal is to do that before 2026. But the reality is I can work towards those things, and I can try to accomplish those things, and I want them to happen as efficiently as possible. But at the end of the day, those are decisions that are made by somebody else. So I'm not going to, you know, base my life and my happiness around what ultimately boils down to somebody else's decision. I'm going to focus on trying to accomplish my goals as efficiently as possible without a set timetable, because for me, it's just about progress, right? It's just about progress. I want to work more
Sorry.
towards these goals. I want to efficiently tackle the things that I can tackle and the things that I can handle in the manner that they're presented to me as effectively as possible. And that's what I've been doing over the past year. And it's good to have control and to feel like I'm able to work towards accomplishing those goals as efficiently as I can. So that's my goal for the rest of the year and the rest of my pro wrestling career as it progresses. Because any good pro wrestler should have short-term goals, medium-term goals, long-term
Oh
goals,
yeah.
with the understanding that a lot of this stuff is out of our control. So it's just working towards those. And if you put everything into it, then that's all you can ask of yourself, right? I don't look back at any part of my career and say, oh, I wish I did this differently, or I wish I did that differently. Because the reality is I worked my ass off. I'm constantly in the ring. I Even this Wednesday, I'm a trainer at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. I did all of our drills with the students. I was doing what we call a heat drill on the fly, where I was working with people back and forth as both a babyface and a heel, because I only have one match this weekend, and that's kind of a rarity for me in my current state of pro wrestling. I'm usually working 2 or 3 times a weekend, so I said, oh, I'll get some ring work in the school. And most people in my shoes don't, well, maybe not don't, but like aren't so focused on like the training aspect of it. And rightfully so. If you're working 3 or 4 times a weekend, you definitely don't want to be in training, like bumping more. But when I have like quote unquote time off from wrestling, I just get more reps wrestling and practicing promos and going practicing my acting training and things like that. Working on the stuff with my school, the Dijak Wrestling Academy, being a trainer,
There we go.
networking with people, brainstorming ideas. We have a seminar, an online webinar coming up with one of my good friends who's one of the best wrestlers in the world, Anthony Green.
Yay.
I'm gonna be publicly announcing that soon, because we got a webinar coming up on I think he publicly announced it on his Instagram story, but I'm gonna be putting out some content about it too, just to make sure that everybody's aware of that, because it's a great deal. $40 to learn from one of the best minds in the business for over 2 hours. That's a great deal. And you can
Yes,
do it in
sir.
the comfort of your own home. So yeah, so I'm constantly churning ideas and working on advancing. It's always about moving forward in a positive way, and that's my goal uh, for short, medium, and long term.
Heck
That
yeah.
was a perfect answer. That was the most Dijak answer we could have gotten. And
That's a
A
good
lot of
one.
the time, it feels like I'm a little long-winded, and I hope that people aren't aren't put off by how much I talk. But I feel, for me anyway, I feel like it's better to be well thought out and to speak like from the heart than it is to have like pre-populated, like, yeah, here's my here's my best hits of my answers. Let me regurgitate what I say, all the time. I like to speak off the cuff. And sometimes it gets me in trouble. Maybe someone will clip something from this interview and I'll receive a bunch of hate tweets. And you know what? It doesn't matter too much, because I was in
interaction.
and so I got all the worst hate tweets in the world.
Yeah.
You can't hurt me with that stuff.
Also, I think if you didn't have insightful things to say, if you were just talking out of your ass, then yeah, you might be long-winded and it would be an issue. But no,
Right.
this was insightful, and it's always a
Good.
treat to get to talk to you. It's always a pleasure.
Good.
I'm really excited to see what's in store for you this next year. I can't wait to see you in September. I'm Knock on wood, I'll see you there.
No point.
Yeah.
Lastly, I just really want to say I hope you enjoy your Independence Day. Thanks for spending 2 with us in a row, and I hope you enjoy it with your family, man. That's why we did it so early.
Thank you, America. Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah.
I bought this shirt for a. You can watch it. It's on IWTV. It's for a company that is owned and operated by one of the guys who owns and operates the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. And he's a good friend of mine, and he runs a company that is, because he worked for Chikara for a long time. He was Max Smashmaster in Chikara. So he runs a company that is kind of similar in style in that they want like different unique characters. So I'm not Donovan Dijak when I wrestle there. I'm like Volk Milica, like a Russian guy turned into an American patriot. It's very funny.
Oh my God.
I bought this shirt. I bought this shirt for my turncoat where I turned on Mother Russia and I became an American.
Okay.
Oh my God.
But it's funny because I still don't speak English, so I'm just yelling like American phrases. It's fun. It's very fun. So that's why I have this shirt on.
I have to ask now.
Go ahead.
He brought it up. Do you know about Davey America?
Yes, that was the first thing that I mentioned. Scott's his real name. He mentioned this character concept to me, and I said, I really want to dive headfirst into this just because I know that Ilya did the exact opposite of me. So I want my own lore because he was obviously a Russian who was portraying an American. I want to be an American who's portraying a Russian because I think that's very hilarious. I was going to drop it after, but I saved you the edit, so you're welcome.
Oh, make my job easy.
Yeah, no, that's great.
I think that's awesome.
We make references to that,
and I know Ilya very well, and we're good friends, and I know with 100% certainty that he probably can't stand that he did that, and he probably looks back at that with because he's such a like intense, like I'm making this real sort of thing. So I would bet with all my money that he looks back on that and is like, oh, please don't. Please don't. But I look back on that and I'm like, oh, that's the best thing I've ever seen.
I will remember to not bring it up if I ever get a chance to interview him.
No, I wouldn't bring it up with him either.
Yeah, noted.
But, maybe I would just to push his buttons because I like to F with him a little bit. Yeah, no, it's he's a good dude. He should be coming back soon, right? Didn't he? Wasn't he out like 9 months ago or 10 months ago or so?
So I think September was the set date, and then
September.
Yeah.
I hope so. He's an outstanding talent. I love
Dragunov.
Intense.
I hope he gets a big opportunity. He deserves it.
Yeah.
Well, let's put Dragunov over before we go.
That's a perfect way to end this episode.
Because I didn't do that enough in my career.
Right.
I forgot.
Might as well, put him over one more time.
Man, can't say it enough. Appreciate you joining us again. This was really fun. I hope we can just keep doing it every year.
Oh yeah, sounds good. Sounds good, guys. Thank you very much.
All right.
All night, baby, I keep it going, catching flight after flight.